All right, so we should be live. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so it's Trish here, and I am once again in a hotel room, and I do not have. Oh, wait a minute. Let me mute this. I can hear an echo, so let me fix this. It's Trish here, and I am once again in a hotel room. Okay. So let's see. I knew that we were going to have some issues, so we're not recording the podcast just yet, but we will be in just about in just about a minute. I'll get us started. All right.
I do that all the time when I leave that extra screen open.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Normally I can print my notes and have them in front of me, but this hotel situation is not giving that. Let's see. It's all going to make sense in a minute. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Here we go. Ooh. All right. Hello, my name is Trish Ajel Roberts, and welcome to the Mind Blowing Happiness Podcast. Today, we're talking to the founder of Black Girl Everything, Dr. Gloria Pope. Hi, Dr. Glow. How are you?
I am amazing. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much for being here. So, I was trying to think back to when we met, and I feel like I
It's been a
feel like
while.
it was during the pandemic, right?
Yeah. I think that's when I met most people. I was out here just collecting people all day long, especially during that time.
Yes. And yeah, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but somehow we connected during the pandemic. And you were actually one of the very first people to do my podcast in the early days when I really didn't know what I'm doing. I know a little bit of what I'm doing now, which is an exciting development. I think we have close to 60 episodes now. So it's
Oh, wow. You're growing. That's so exciting.
it is, we're expanding and there's more opportunities coming our way for the podcast. So stay tuned. But before we get into our topic, can you talk a little bit about what Black Girl Everything is and what you do?
Okay, perfect. So Black or Everything, I founded it in 2020, at the top of the year, actually, before the pandemic really hit over here in the States. And I curated the experience as just going to be one event. And it was supposed to have all these great speakers there. These vendors are supposed to be there. It's going to be this big old thing. And then the governor said 2 days before the event that New York was now shut down. So then I didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, I was really wanted to host an event. So then I started actually doing videos with individuals and started doing interviews. And that's where I came up, I coined the thing mini expos, where I was just sharing. I think that's how we actually ended the meeting. I probably reached out to you to do a mini expo at some point. Those interviews with individuals to talk about their brands and their businesses. And that's how it started. And then we was able to go back outside and play. Then the end of the year, I started hosting outdoor-based events, and that's where we are now. Now going almost into year 5.
Yeah, and I'm excited because I'm going to be speaking at your event in March, the
Yes,
Black Girl Everything retreat, right? It's like a 3-day
yes,
weekend thing. So I'll be there. And I can't wait to meet all the beautiful women and
yeah, yeah.
talk about my book, The Anger Myth, which deals with managing emotion and mood so that we can live our best lives and have all the success we want. So,
Yeah, I think that's why I was so excited to have you on for this particular year because we're talking so much more so around wellness and
mhm.
well-being for especially for entrepreneurs and just women in general about how we're taking care of ourselves. So sharing your work, I've watched you over, the last 5 years and just admire the type of work that you do. So I'm happy to have that within the space. I know it's going to bring some great energy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that because sometimes being out here as an entrepreneur, I'm doing things, I'm creating content, and I'm just like, is anybody seeing it? I mean,
Listen,
people do
I
see it,
totally get
but you
it.
don't get the feedback right away.
Mhm.
I had a client or a prospect I was on a call with earlier, and I always ask people how they found me, and she said LinkedIn, and I said, okay, well, but sometimes I hear TikTok, and I don't
Mhm.
know, or I Googled you or whatever. So it's just exciting to know that, people are seeing my work and appreciating it.
No, I get you. That this year I coined it as my year of visibility. So I've been very intentional around invisibility for my organization and just also for myself and my own personal brand because most of my brands I focus more so on how I can help others. And
Mhm,
this year I've been very intentional about doing the things I wanted to do for me, even as
mhm.
myself as Dr. Glow. So it's been fun.
Yes, I've been working on that idea as well. I think a lot of people that come into the kind of work we do, we're such givers that
Hmm.
sometimes we forget that we also need to receive.
Yeah.
And when we give without receiving, we actually put ourselves out of balance, so we have
Hmm.
to invite all the good things that we're going to receive while we're in the process of continuing to give. So today's topic, because it's this time of year, right? When we start thinking about the new year. So we're going to talk about empowering your vision for 2025. And
Hmm.
both of us are going to share some tips to help you lean into your strengths and find success in the upcoming year. The first thing I wanted to ask you, Dr. Glow, can you tell us what being empowered means to you? What does that word even mean to you?
Well, I think, for me, in being empowered, I was born empowered. I bragged to everybody that I was the firstborn, right? So when you're the firstborn, you get coined, you get this crown that no one else ever gets to receive, right? No matter how many siblings you have or cousins you have. And I knew, especially as also the oldest cousin in most of my side. So I was always empowered by everybody because I was born to be a leader. So for
Mhm.
me, I had that leadership role from birth, but I didn't really activate it or utilize it to its capacity until really into my grown-up years, because that's when I realized that I had this innate ability to have people follow, right? I had this innate ability to actually support people and hear what people were saying without them actually saying it. So now in my, very early 40s, I'm big at focusing on just how empowered I am and stepping into that. Because when you're listening to the universe, I know that the universe is always speaking to us. And it's about how are we accessing the ability to take what we're hearing and make it real. So empowerment for me is really just being connected to anything and everyone around you and seeing how you can actually move through this world in a positive light. So that's what I look at for people empowered. So for me, I'm empowered because I know that I'm powerful.
I love what you said about take what you're hearing and making it real.
Yeah.
That really encapsulates a lot of it and a lot of creativity, right? Going from nothing to creating
Hmm.
something. So unlike you, my situation growing up was different. I was the third born, and there was a big gap between me and my younger sister, so I was a baby for a long period of time. So I never thought of myself as a leader.
Hmm.
Um, my big sister was definitely, she had the leadership thing going on, and I was able to just kind of, do what the baby does, which is get spoiled and act up, right?
Hmm.
So I did some of those things, and it wasn't until I was much older, as an adult, that I started really seeing myself as a leader. Although I think I always had that leadership in me because I was always just smart and opinionated, you know. Um, so yeah, but when I think of empowerment, I think of knowing who you are, right? So having some level of self-awareness, which typically comes from having done some work on yourself, hanging out with
Hmm.
me or with Dr. Glow or with, Iyanla Van Zandt or one of these, somebody to help you, Tony Robbins or Jack Canfield, somebody to help you work on yourself and figure out who you are.
Yeah.
And then knowing what you want. So once you figure out who you are, you can figure out what you want, um, which to me is having kind of some clarity, right? And then finally, being able to act on those things. So, who you are, what you want, being able to act on it. And usually, the action part requires some courage.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. Like I did some major life work back in 2021 and it changed my whole life. I stepped into a room with 50 other people and we talked and we cried and it was a weekend
Mhm.
long thing. It was like, why am I here? Then I was just like, oh my goodness. But by the end of it, I was clear on the magic of being able to declare the things that you want out of life. right? And I started, then I went to the second part of this life work, and it got even deeper in the advanced course. And then I did their
Mhm.
leadership. And now I love this life work specifically so much that I go back and coach it because I get even something out of that of being in service with other individuals. So I find that, that continuing working on me has been one of the biggest parts of who I am today. And I know I've pivoted in so many ways in only 3 years of where I've come, even as an entrepreneur, because I did that personal life work and I was able to align myself to a capacity really to thrive.
I will piggyback on that and say, if you have not cried through some stuff, you haven't done the work.
Not at all.
You need to have a notebook full of tears.
I agree. I agree. Because you got to deal with those things because we're all carrying all that baggage and all those experiences. And then until you really sit down and look at them, you don't realize how they're really affecting your day to day, how
Mhm,
they're affecting you not engaging with individuals, how they're affecting you not believing you can do something. Like my
mhm.
statement for the week is do it scared, right?
Yes.
And that baggage will keep you real so scared and so much fear, you do nothing. So you
Mhm.
have to look at that so you can actually keep yourself in check.
Yes, yes. My biggest fear is that I get to the end of my life and I think, damn, I should have done the thing, you
Mm,
know? So do it scared, do it. None of us knows how much time we have. We all like to think we have a lot until we get something happens and we're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe it's not
yeah.
as much as I think. Maybe I'm not
Mhm.
going to live to be 105, So so do it. Definitely do it. Um, and then the next question, since we're talking about empowering your vision, we talk about what empowerment means. What
Yeah.
does it mean to you to create a vision?
Ooh, I'm a dreamer. I am a dreamer. And even when I was growing up in my early 20s, I started having really vivid dreams, right? And I was like, and I would come up like I'm a big deja vu type person. So I had these
Mm,
vivid dreams, and then I'm like, now I'll come back like, oh, I dreamt about that. It's happening right now, right? So for me, like anything that I want, I ask for it, right? And that's about creating my vision. My vision for the world and my vision for myself has to do with abundance, prosperity, and flexibility of time is a big thing what aligns me with my vision, right? So I just do and I create things that's going to provide those things. And then also stability. I wasn't a child that was raised necessarily in stability. I lived in shelters when I was younger.
mm,
I've experienced what it is to have addicted parents or to go through shelter systems and all those different things. I was lucky enough to thrive through those experiences, but my vision of the world is just really to create opportunities for others to be able to thrive through them, right? So the work that I do with Black Girl Everything, the work that I do with my nonprofit, the Daisy Dream Project, is all focused on community, especially for Black and Brown people. So I'm tapping everything from education to business, because with that, once you have strong education and strong business, you have strong families. And that's what
mhm.
saves the Black community.
So the thing that struck me, you said a lot there, but what struck
Yeah.
me was when you said to ask for what you want. Ask
Yes.
for what you want. Um, that's been coming up a lot for me in my work with my mentors, right? And
Hmm.
I think I'm pretty good with asking for what I want. But I notice with my clients and in other groups, and I do need to check in with myself sometimes as well to make sure that I'm actually asking and I'm not expecting offers or thinking people are going to mind or expecting like magic. Magic is great, but sometimes you ask for what you want to a particular person, and sometimes you ask for what you want from God or from the universe or from having that
Hmm.
clarity of even being able to articulate and know what you want so that you can put it out there. So yeah, so that stuck out for me a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
so what you want is the base of everything, though. You can't have a vision unless you know what you want in the first place. And I think
mhm,
that's where a lot of people get very confused. Like even businesses that I work with and individuals I work with, a lot that I ask that question, what do you really want though? Because it's like a lot of people, especially during 2020, when we were all sitting at home, Black women launched businesses all over the world. But now, going into 2025, I reach out to people who vended for me. Their businesses are non-existent because it
Mhm.
wasn't really what they wanted. They did
Yeah.
it because it looked cool. They did it because I needed to make some extra money because I wasn't working because of the pandemic and all these different things. And I had this time to create. But if they would have held on and realizing that creation brings life and foster those businesses, foster those opportunities, they still may be thriving still at this point. So I think when people step into different things, the narrative is always has to be is you need to know what you want, because if you don't know what you want and you're just doing it to do it, you're not going to thrive in that space.
Yeah, and there's like I see so many ads now on Instagram, which is one of my favorite places to hang out, where it's like you can make money doing this, you can make money doing this, you can
Yeah.
make, but it's like, yeah, but you got to put all your time into that. Is that
Uh-huh.
really what you want to be doing? Um, because you talked about creation bringing life, and it made me think of actually birthing. Like a lot of times when we talk about entrepreneurship or
Mm-hmm.
creativity in general, it could even be a painting or a sculpture. We're birthing something. And when you're birthing something, much the way if you were a parent, you should be birthing something that you love because it's going to take a lot out of you, whatever it is.
Woo! You ain't lie there.
Yeah, yeah. So even if it's like, it's a drop ship business, which everybody's like, let's do that. It's so easy. Or it's Amazon affiliate. Oh, it's so easy. No matter what it is, it's gonna take effort and it's gonna take your time. You are still birthing a thing. So yeah, get clear on your vision. Do you really love it? The first time I did a vision board, I watched the film The Secret, which was a great film, but I put on the vision board stuff that I thought I was supposed to want,
Yeah.
and it wasn't really the stuff I wanted.
Mhm.
So, of course, that one didn't work out. But once I started shifting into the stuff that I wanted, but I was scared to say that I wanted,
Mm, I hear you.
that's when it got real.
Yeah.
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 And I will never forget the first time I put the word writer. It was written in like a little fine tip pen, Dr. Glow. I didn't want to put it in like a big fat Sharpie or anything. I just put it, I was like, oh, let me just put writer on here because I was terrified. And and since then, I mean, my goodness, how my life has changed. I have 4 books out now and book deals and
Hmm.
literary agents and speaking agents and just all of these things that could not have happened if I hadn't had the courage to put my little vision of what I really wanted on my vision board.
Yeah, you acknowledged it, right? Because you know what you was doing. You was listening to those sounds, those things, those dreams that you were having at night that was telling you while you was writing your books, you standing on stage at the next bestseller. You started believing in those things, and that's what it takes. Because the universe is always downloading information to us. God is always telling us something, right? But it's about how are we hearing it, and it's taking like, listen, why is this keep on passing over the same person or the same thing or the same space? What is drawing me to this space? Like for instance, like my sensory gym is right around the corner from my school,
You
and it's
said
on a street,
sensory gym?
a sensory gym for my nonprofit, the Daisy Dream Project.
Oh, you're gonna have to
Right.
explain that.
Yes,
Keep
it's a
going.
sensory gym and parent engagement center, right? So I wanted to find the space, and I was just like driving around, and I kept on seeing this spot, and I was like, "This looks like the perfect spot for the gym. The perfect spot for the gym. It's amazing, right?" But somebody else was in it, and then one day, I saw the person standing outside with a black bag, and I was like, "Hey, are you moving out?" And they were like, "Yes." I was like, well, whose space is this? And it's like, oh, it's hers. I was like, oh, okay. I said, you own this space? She's like, oh, no, I rented. The person who owns this right here. I was like, oh, hi. This is what I want to do. They said, here, you can have it. And that's
Oh,
how I
wow.
got this space. So it's about
I'm gonna
being,
stop you though. I gotta stop you because I do
yes.
not know what a sensory gym is, and I
No?
can't be the only one who doesn't know what this is.
Okay. So the Daisy Dream Project, which is my nonprofit, I created that when I was doing this life work. I stood up on that Sunday night and I declared I'm going to open a space for Black and Brown families for children with diagnosed disabilities. So backing up a little bit further, when I got my doctorate, I got it in parent engagement in the urban community for children with diagnosed disabilities. And I did that because my son was a child with an IEP. And when I would go to his meetings, no one was there. And I wondered why all the time. Why are nobody really there? So
And
then
tell
if
me
I
what
did
IEP is again. You've
it's
said
an
this to me before.
individual education plan for children. So for children with diagnosed disabilities, right? So
Okay.
ADHD,
Hmm.
autism. So
So education
it's a
plan. Hmm.
plan that clearly first was a legal document, federal legal document. The idea came out in 1968, and it's a document where it declares what students are supposed to receive from schools and providers, right? And it's
Okay.
free for individuals to have these therapists. So when I declared the work and by 2021, I declared it. Then I started the nonprofit the next year because I'm gonna do whatever I think I want now because I know what I want. I wanted to finish my book. I wanted to start a nonprofit, so I did. And so now I got to the place at the end of last year. I declared, okay, you know what? I'm gonna open up the gym next year. That's what I said. I'm gonna open up the gym. I put it out there into the air, and then 6 weeks later, I saw this girl outside. Then 8 weeks later, I had the space. Then the spring came. I was in there painting, getting it together, and now it's opening and it's operating,
I love this. And
right?
yes, when you are clear, I think it's easier for you to know when these things happen, like these kind of
Yeah,
moments of divine intervention. Because if you weren't clear, you may have missed that opportunity.
clear. Yeah, about
Mhm.
everything, and it's just about this whole thing. Like I said about this is my year of visibility because even the Black or Everything space that I'm opening on December 6th, someone found me on Facebook
Mhm.
and reached out to me. It was like, hey, I know you do pop-ups and stuff like this. I have this space. Are you interested in it? I was like,
Mhm.
this is this real? And he is real. I have the keys. It opens in 2 weeks. Right. So
Mhm.
it's like if I know what I want out of life, right? And I'm clear that I can have it all too. That's the key thing. I can have a great marriage. I can have amazing children. I can have multiple businesses. I can do whatever I want. And still I have time to go on vacation and get beautiful tans like my current tan I have right now. For those of you watching the podcast, sorry you cannot see my amazing tan from Mexico, but it is gorgeous.
Yeah. So I had a couple notes about vision, and
Yeah.
it aligns a lot with what you were saying. One is this idea of having the courage to dream big and not
Hmm.
be confined. Um, and then also we talked a little bit about this too, imagining what doesn't already exist. Like you have a son who has a situation and you're like, oh, well, let me create a nonprofit that can help support my son and what I'd like to see for him. And of course, with my business or any entrepreneur is seeing something that doesn't already exist or seeing how to maybe serve ourselves, serve our children, serve our
Hmm.
communities um, better than the way that they're already being served. So what are a few tips that you could share to help people, particularly Black women? Because I think that
Yeah.
this election cycle has really spoken to Black women in a significant
Hmm.
way.
Yeah.
Um, so what are some tips that you might share for people to set themselves up for a solid 2025 or new year?
Well, for a solid 2025, I think you always need to be focused on the seeds you have already planted. That's my thing. Like
Mm,
you don't realize throughout your life you're planting seeds. You're putting little things, little crumbs are out there, but it's like what is going to be the bigger vision, right? And it falls right back to that whole what do you want type of concept, right? So for me going into 2025, which I've coined now my year of results, I'm identifying all the little seeds that I have planted over the last couple of years. And I have these amazing notebooks where I have these my mini expos and these conversations I have with people. And I go back through my YouTube and I go back and see like who did I interview like 2 years ago? Let me follow up with them, right? So I can see what seed I planted during that conversation and how I can possibly make it grow right now. So when we're talking about tips for individuals, I go directly into my framework. And my framework is all about being the CEO of your own life. And it talks about B is building your plan. What is your plan for what you're trying to accomplish? I know you said trying to accomplish, what you're going to accomplish. Be clear with my words. R is identifying the resilience, right? That you are resilient and you can get anything done. Assets, anything and everything is an asset. For those of people who listen to this podcast right now, for those people who are watching or streaming live, We are now assets for you in this moment because you were
Mhm.
brought here at this time to get what you needed from us in this particular moment. Your network, you're part of my network, right? How can you maneuver through your network to get the goal or the vision that you want? And D is diligence, the mindset around getting it done, right? Because you have to do the work. So you mentioned earlier about, entrepreneurs, we start different things and people that start things to start them, not realizing that it takes work. This is not a piece of cake thing for anybody to do, but anybody can do it if they make the
Mhm.
conscious choice to get it done. So tips for me really start with understanding who you are, what you're trying to get out of life, not just your business, what you want out of your life, right? And then actually doing the work around it. And then lastly, trusting that you're going to be okay because trust plays a big part in all of that. Because if you cannot trust yourself or trust the people around you to hold you down as you transition through what you're going to transition through, then you're not going to make it because you need to be able to trust in something. And it might just be trusting in you, and you can hold yourself down as well. But again, I said everything and anything's an asset. Even your family members who are telling you, no, don't go do that. They're going to be the ones who's going to keep you aligned a little bit, but they might align you with too much fear. But my point is that lean through your network because everything you need is right there what you need it. You've ran into these people before. You've got to walk into the rooms with these people that you need now or at, but you got to be clear that you know you're here to get something from them. And that's okay because they're also there to get something from
You just dropped a whole word just now.
you.
There was so much stuff going on in there. I was just writing it down. But there were just so many great points you made. One that hit me, and it was the first thing you said, was to focus on the seeds you've already planted.
Yes.
Because, and I know with entrepreneurs or working corporate, working any business, sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But it makes so much sense to look back at what you've already done. What have you already built? What can you move forward with? What's going to grow for you? And then when you said everything is an asset, I was like, yes, because, sometimes we think, well, I don't have the money for this, or I don't have the time
Hmm.
for this, or, you know, we get stuck in this idea a lot of money and time as a way to keep us from moving forward when we we might have people, and people I think is one of the most important assets that you can have, your network, who is around you. And money and time, crazy enough, money can always be created, but
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, so can time. How much time
Yes,
are
it
we
can.
spending watching Netflix, scrolling, being exhausted because we're not sleeping? There are ways to create more time. Um, so yeah, that was really good. And then when you closed out with the part about trusting that you're going to be okay, that's kind of the faith piece, right? Or the surrender,
Hmm.
like knowing that there's a God or a universe that is working on your behalf. I wanted
Yeah.
to tell this story actually, because you were talking about how you found your space.
Yeah.
So, I just got back from Colombia yesterday. I went to a
Hmm.
town called Santa Marta. And the reason I went to that town was because I met someone at a business retreat last month who lives in Santa Marta. I had never heard of it before.
Okay.
So I was trying to plan a trip to go someplace completely different. And then I was thinking about Cartagena because that's kind of, or
Hmm.
Cartagena, I should probably say it better, because that's more popular. And I spoke to this person and she said, come to Santa Marta. And I said, okay. I started doing some research on it and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And then, of course, I'm trying to think, do they have any Black people in Santa Marta? Like, I don't know. So I finally booked a trip with my friend. And on the plane ride over, a Black guy sits next to me. And I'm like, he's going to Santa Marta? This is good. We need to talk. So I talked to him because I don't know, Glow. I'm just going with.
Yeah.
So I talked to him and I'm like, yeah, I'm going with my friend. I don't know if they really have any Black people over there. How's that like? And turns out he is, I think he was from Atlanta and he was living out there. So there's a
Oh,
whole
wow.
community of Black expats out there that I had no idea about. But it felt very much like that kind of divine intervention, like what you had with your space.
Yeah.
And at the same time, taking that opportunity, because I could have sat there and not spoken to the man or not spoken
Hmm.
about what I was curious about. But we talked, and then he introduced me to people, and it just became this whole big party in Santa Marta.
Nice.
So when you talk about being clear and having courage and having that self-awareness, all of those things, so that you can move yourself in the direction that you want to go. I had a couple of things that I had been thinking about. Um, this we hear a lot, but I think it's so important. I'll just say it again. Practice self-care. For everybody, that could look different. For me, I think that it requires, gosh, I had actually made this little acronym, YAMS, and it's yoga,
Hmm.
affirmations,
Hmm.
meditation, and
Okay.
then the S is some sort of silence, some sort of
Mm.
stillness. And it may not be something that you incorporate every day, but it may be once a week, just to have some sort of routine to create space for yourself, to create healing for your body, to calm your nervous system, because we live in a crazy world. And so that was my first thought, something around self care. And then the other thing was to have some sort of accountability partner,
Yeah.
whether you like have an accountability partner on your own, or if I'm sure there's probably groups you can join for that kind of thing. I have accountability partners, but I also have coaches, because coaches
Hmm.
will show up. Accountability partners, sometimes they may not always show up, but if
Listen,
you're
I have
looking for
one
a
good
coach,
group that I'm in on Mondays, and we're
okay,
pretty good. Like I
yeah,
showed up
we're
to them when I was on
mastermind.
vacation. I showed up still for our meeting on our Zoom
Good, good.
because we're committed. But
But
I've
it's
had a few,
so
so I understand.
important. So especially, like, I think more so for entrepreneurs, because we're kind of in these
Yeah.
spaces by ourselves. But even if you are in like a corporate job, you have other goals besides just your job. So having someone to help you stay accountable, maybe for your health goals, or if you have entrepreneurial goals or
Hmm.
relationship goals or whatever, just having another person to bounce off of, whether it's a professional like a coach or a therapist, or if it's a friend or some other kind of accountability partner. Oh, and then one of my favorite things to do, and it's my time of year, is to create a vision board. So I haven't chosen the date for my vision boarding workshop this year. It's going to be sometime next month, probably in the first couple of weeks of the month. So hopefully you guys follow me and you will hear about that. But creating a place to do a lot of the things we're talking about, to think about what our vision is, get some sort of
Yeah.
clarity around it, and then create something that we can see every day to remind us throughout the year what it is that we're working on. Because it's easy to set goals and then forget about them, right? If you don't put
Hmm.
them someplace where
Yeah. You
you
have to
where
write everything down. At least I do. I have to write it everything down that everything that's extra important gets an extra post-it somewhere where it's constantly a reminder of like, hey, get that done, get that done, get that done. Because like when you're for me, because I don't like, I have to live a very full life. I don't stay busy. So I live a very full life. I have to be intentional about giving my checks and balances around my full life. And that also includes my vacation as part of my self-care. Making sure
Mhm,
I'm going away like every 3 or 4 months for some time, making sure I'm going on slow walks with my dogs in the morning. That's part of my time.
mhm,
It's good for them, but it's also good for me to get that fresh air to start my day every single day.
mhm,
Getting to the gym. And I was at the spa this last weekend with a good friend. So it's like finding those moments are so important because then you start experiencing burnout. It was in July where I knew I was burnt out. I burned
mhm,
out. It was not a good time for me. But it took for me to like release some things and focus on other things to rejuvenate myself back and realize that, what I really want, all I really want to do is like have my contracts only in Mount Vernon. I'm only 7 minutes from home. All my businesses are very, very local, where they're walking distance from each other. That's what I wanted. And that's not what I have.
mhm.
Yeah, and I'm right from I could be home. I can go right outside right now and walk a mile and a half to my house. So it's like that level of convenience is the life that I wanted. I have a 5-year-old at home,
Mm,
and and she started kindergarten this year. I wanted to be able to be present for her, be able to go to her school events, but still be able to go back to work or go to one of the businesses or whatever I'm doing. I wanted to make sure I was accessible for as she starts even to get older and starts getting into sports and she has a 3 o'clock softball game. I want to be able to be there. And I can't be
right.
commuting from too far to be able to be there and to be present in her life, So those things really matter for me. And that creating that level of balance, of business, work, life, joy, and children is a lot. It's a lot to create it all, but it's so important to make sure you give everything what it deserves because that's where everything was going to do well.
Yeah. No, and it's beautiful because you've created the life that you wanted,
Yeah,
but it requires effort, and so have I. But I remember when I was working as a financial advisor a few years back, and I had gotten obsessed with Harold and the Purple Crayon. I don't know if you know that cartoon where
I do.
he draws his life the way he
Yeah.
wants it. Because I was just like, this is not the life the way that I want it. And that was a big part of the beginning of my journey to reassemble my life so that
Hmm.
I could do the work I want to do and be in the places that I want to be and have the flexibility that I want to have. Um, so yeah, so we're both testaments to the the fact that this is possible. It
Yes,
requires
very
some
much so.
effort, but it's possible. And so I know that you have your retreat coming up March 14th to the 16th. I
Yes.
have my kind of virtual series coming up a little bit before you. So from January 16th to February 20th, I'm leading the Black Girl Joy 6-week mind, body, soul refresh, which would be a lovely
Ooh.
precursor to the, the in-person that you're doing. So if anybody's interested in that, you can follow me. The information is on my website and my link in bio. And for you, Dr. Glow, how can people stay connected to you? Where can they find you? And where can they learn more about the retreat in March?
Yeah, they can actually visit the website, which is blackgirleverythingllc.com. And they can follow me everywhere across the world as Black Girl Everything LLC. The retreat information is over there. And they can just also follow me on my personal page on Instagram, which is Dr. Glow underscore the brand. I go on there every morning and just do morning motivation while I walk my dogs. It'd be real interesting stuff. Anything that pops off the top of my mind or anything I dreamt about the night before it pops up in my morning motivation. So people can definitely tune into those. But I'm just really happy to be where I am right now, and I know that things I never would have thought that I would be Dr. Glow and who Dr. Glow is, right? But even when I was 16, I sat there in front of my aunt and said, I want to be a doctor, but I don't want to deal with medicine, right? And I
Mm.
because I didn't know. But then as I it got older and I realized I'm this person and who I am and how all those little things added up to be right now. I'm just excited about what these next 40 years is going to look like, 40, 50 years. I'm trying to get to 105 with you, what these next few years is going to look like. Because if I'm here right now, I'm excited to where I'm going to be next.
Well, you know what's crazy is we talk about going to 105. I want to say both Martin Luther King and Jesus died at like 39,
Hmm.
you know? So whatever it is you want to do it. Just do
Right
it. But
now.
we just don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have a long time to do our work, but there's no time like the present.
No, there really isn't. There really isn't. So when you wake up every day, figure if this is your last day, what impact are you going to leave on the world?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for being on with me. I think this
This is
conversation
great.
has been beautiful. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
No, I appreciate you having me. You're one of my favorite people. Like I look at all your posts all the time, Judy, your little yoga poses. I'm like, look at her, look at her. You always just look so pleasant and so happy. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've worked on this for a long time. I think I was always a little cup half full person, uh,
Mm.
but there is also skill in navigating all the stuff that life will undoubtedly throw at you.
Oh, it likes throwing his daggers.
Yeah, that's how we
Yep,
learn.
yep.
That's how
I
we
tell people
learn.
like, listen, life is a pendulum. Sometimes it's balanced, sometimes it swings way where you don't want it to go. But I guarantee it's going to swing back in the other direction. Just be ready to catch all that joy that's going to come with it. Uh, take the
All right.
ride. The ride's going to be fun.
I like it. I like it. Thank you. So,
Thank
on
you.
that note, I'm going to just close us out. And I hope that everyone listening enjoyed this episode of the Mind Blowing Happiness podcast. You can visit TrishAgelRoberts.com and click the membership button to join my free community. We meet virtually on the last Thursday of the month at noon Eastern with guided meditation, breath work, and mindset guidance for the month ahead. Have a wonderful
Nice.
rest of your day.
Thank you.